Welcome to the Living Story. So, we've been talking about the Sermon on the Mount. Such beautiful saying that the Beatitudes are where to find the teacher. Whenever you are to go to look within the poor in spirit, within those downcast, within the meek, within the peacemakers, within those who are persecuted, even among the lowest, you shall find the teacher. That one grows in grace by means of the living faith, which grasps the fact that you are a son of God, my friend. And while at the same time it recognizes every man as its brother. So, the poor in spirit, the hungry, the meek, the pure in heart, those who mourn, those who weep, the merciful, the peacemakers, those who are persecuted. And when others insult you, your rewards shall be great. Such a beautiful teaching. To summon up the Sermon on the Mount, that you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. You are a candle for all to see. You are a city set upon a hill to shine for the world. And we'll continue from here. So, we will now go to the Messiah's first announcement of announcing his deliverance, announcing like his coming out of like, I am the Messiah. This first happened when he encounters the lady at the well in Samaria. He sees a woman there who is known throughout the town as an adulterer. She's had many husbands and just reprimanded to wear her hair down as a symbol of harlotry. So not many people would hold her in high esteem. She has doubts there because of the love that she's felt, and then the crushing defeat of divorce and doubt in relationships. But then the teacher comes, and he's to establish the clearing of this doubt to the woman. Let me see. He sees her pulling water out of the well. And then, while he's thirsty, sitting down, he asks her for a drink. She is a bit astonished, like, you are a Jew, I'm from Samaria. The Jews and the Samaritans have been fighting for centuries. Why would you ask me for a drink? And then he says, if you really knew who I am, you would be asking me for a drink. What kind of drink do you have that would be better than this well of water that comes from my ancestor Jacob? And in response, I knew Jacob. We were very close. But the water that I have is a living water, and if you knew who I am, you'd be asking me for a drink of this living water. She doesn't quite understand the message. It's hidden in such symbology. He's referring to the living spirit. This living spirit is the water of life. And whoever drinks of this living of water says shall not thirst. It is like, now finally, my hour has come when all sincere worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. He tells her in a way like he knows her. He knows of her history. And she's kind of taking this now as, what do I do when a man is speaking to me? She goes back to her old habits of maybe I'll flirt with him. When the teacher picks up on the sign that she's trying to flirt with him, immediately puts a halt on it. Says, "Woman, call forth your husband." He says, I don't have a husband. He says, I know you don't have a husband. And he's saying this to just let her know that he's not here to sleep with her. He's not here to get in her pants. He knows that she's a powerful woman, that she can spread the word of the message. So he's now coming on strong, like the hour has now come when all sincere worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. That this living water is spirit, and the Spirit is God, and they who worship Him worship in spirit and in truth. So that the salvation comes by receiving into your heart this living Spirit. She's taken back, for she now knows that he understands her. But like when one has the message and it's too hard to hear, you'll divert the conversation. So she diverts the conversation to our ancestors, to some kind of philosophical conversation. My ancestors used to worship upon this hill on Mount Gerizim. Well, the Jews, they worship on the Mount of Jerusalem. Who is right? Who is correctly worshiping? And he says that the time has come when the heart, and what is seen in one's heart, when one brings the Spirit into their heart, they are the ones who truly worship, and not in a temple. Now you are the living temple. Salvation comes by receiving into your heart the living Spirit. And then she knows about her childhood dreams of one day I feel like a Messiah would come and said that will be delivered one day. He announces, "Woman, I am the deliverer. I am the one you speak of. I'm the one your ancestors speak of. I'm the one that Jacob speaks of. I'm the one that Isaiah speaks of. The one you speak of, I am he. I'm the one that the prophets spoke of." He comes out now and he announces it. And she's been taken back. And in a way insisting, it'd be helpful if you believe me, for I haven't spoken this way before. You're the first one I'm coming out to telling this. I am the deliverer. And so the teacher then says, "My meat is to do the will of him who sent me." And that he sees at the town of Samaria full of Gentiles and those who worship as pagan and Greek gods, worship various deities on the temple of Mount Gerizim, that he sees that the place of Gentiles is ripe. It's ripe for the message of the kingdom of fatherhood of God and sonship of man. So he sees that those who students of John the Baptist before him did a good job at laying the ground for the message. He says in reference to John the Baptist, "One sows and another reaps. Others have labored. You're about to enter into their labor." So he tells this to his apostles now, who they come up to him and they ask him if you want anything to eat. "We brought you some food." And he says, "My food is here, is to do the will of the Father." So And Peter's like, who brought him food? Well, the woman, as a believer, her heart now hears the message. She is a believer, entered to the kingdom. She goes into the town and brings forth many others to come to the well. Listen, here comes before a man who's told me everything I've ever done. He's told me my whole life. I believe he is the one the prophet spoke of. It's he. A crowd and a multitude comes. And this is a real beginning of the sowing of a message, a universal message beyond even just Judaic laws to a vast multitude of people. And it's really symbolic that the message is a universal message. So, a couple of other things here is that he's come into this will. Come into the world to reveal the will of the Father and reveal his loving character. So, reason he's opening up to not just those in the Judaic faith, but to the whole world, is that a father loves all his children. That all children are sons of God. This is what was meant in the Sermon on the Mount, and blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. He's laid it out from the very beginning. Those who are working for peace in the kingdom are doing the Father's will. The Father seeks peace for his children. And a child may not always understand the Father's motive, but a Father's motive is always for love. So, this begins a heartfelt ministry to the rest of the world. And it's a story that continues to unfold within my own heart of being a believer. And I saw a message yesterday. It was a video on a Hebrew scholar in the time when in the 1980s, he grew up studying like the Judaic scriptures, and the belief at the time is, the New Testament is for Christians. Okay, the Old Testament is for Hebrews and Jews, and you'll be like corrupted if you study the New Testament. In a way, you don't want to mix it, because it just kind of goes against the old Judaic laws. When he started to read the New Testament, he became convinced of Christ as the Messiah, and the ones that were spoken of in Isaiah in the Old Testament. And I saw this message from Isaiah 53. It states so this was what God, he who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed. He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised, and we beheld him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we were healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, though he had no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his land. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Wow. So, I saw that as the teachings of the Sermon on the Mount summarized, and what the Christ brought forth. So, that right there, that was originally told in synagogues, but was taken out in synagogues. It was out of debate between Jewish and Christian scholars. Christians believing it was referring to Christ, and the Jews believe it was referring to the whole nation of Israel. So, interesting. Whether that belief is for you, we shall see. I deliver this message today of glad tidings. May thy will be done on heaven as it is on earth. May we forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. May all who hear this message be blessed with the living Spirit and the living water. May it pour forth into your life. May it be a blessing. And like the woman who received that message and who had faith in her heart to go tell others, may the glad tidings spread. And may the Holy Spirit find a home in your heart. Blessings.